Now, as you listen to this, there is one part of your brain that has never rested. Not when you sleep, not when you meditate, not once in your entire life. Your auditory cortex is always on, always processing, always listening for threats that no longer exist. And this constant vigilance is slowly, quietly, costing you everything from memory to creativity to years of cognitive health. Here's the strangest part. In 2011, scientists in Germany were studying the effects of different sounds on mice. They used white noise, Mozart, baby mouse calls, but they needed a control condition, something neutral, so they added intervals of complete silence, expecting nothing to happen. Instead, they discovered something that changed our understanding of the brain. 2 hours of silence per day triggered neurogenesis, the growth of brand new brain cells in the hippocampus. The silence wasn't neutral, it was doing something powerful. To understand why silence matters, you first need to understand why your brain treats sound the way it does. 50,000 years ago, silence meant safety. A snapping twig meant a predator. A distant thunder meant shelter. Your ancestors who responded fastest to unexpected sounds survived. The ones who could tune it out became something else's dinner. So evolution did what it always does. It hardwired hypervigilance into your auditory system. Your cochlea, that tiny snail-shaped organ in your inner ear, converts air pressure into electrical signals 24 hours a day. It cannot be turned off. It has no eyelids. And your brainstem, the ancient reptilian structure that keeps you breathing, processes these signals before your conscious mind even knows sound exists. This is why a sudden noise can wake you from deep sleep. Why a car alarm triggers a stress response before you've identified what it is. Your brain is listening even when you're not. But here's what nobody told you. That system was designed for a world that was almost completely silent. The average prehistoric human experienced sound levels around 20 to 30 decibels. Rustling leaves, distant birdsong, their own heartbeat. Today, the average city dweller is immersed in 60 to 70 decibels. Constantly. That might not sound like much until you understand that decibels are logarithmic. 70 decibels isn't twice as loud as 35. It's over 1,000 times more sound pressure hitting your eardrums. Your brain is processing more auditory information before breakfast than your ancestors processed. In a week, and it's doing this while simultaneously trying to help you remember passwords, navigate relationships, and solve complex problems. The cognitive load is staggering, but the real damage isn't the loudness itself. It's the relentlessness. A 2022 study from the Barcelona Institute for Global Health examined brain scans of over 2,000 adults. Those living in areas with higher noise pollution showed measurably smaller gray matter volume in regions associated with emotional regulation and memory. The noise was literally shrinking their brains. So what happens when we remove it? Let's go back to those German mice. The research team, led by Imke Kirst at Duke University, wasn't trying to study silence. They were studying sound enrichment. The hypothesis was simple. Stimulating auditory environments should increase neural activity and possibly neurogenesis. They were half right. Complex sounds did increase activity, but it was temporary. The mice hearing Mozart showed brief spikes in brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Then returned to baseline. The silent mice did something different. After 2 hours of quiet, their brains began producing new cells in the dentate gyrus, a region of the hippocampus critical for learning and memory. These weren't just any cells. They were functional neurons that integrated into existing brain circuits. Silence wasn't just restful, it was generative. The researchers theorized that silence creates a kind of neural expectancy. Your brain, anticipating sound that doesn't come, enters a heightened state of internal attention. It starts processing itself, consolidating memories, pruning unnecessary connections, building new ones. Your brain uses silence the way your body uses sleep. But here's the problem. You're not getting either. You might be thinking, I experience silence all the time. I turn off the television. I sit in my quiet bedroom. I wear noise-canceling headphones. But your brain disagrees. What do you call silence? Neuroscience calls low-level continuous noise. That quiet bedroom has a refrigerator humming at 40 decibels in the next room. Air conditioning pushing 35. Electrical systems creating a constant electromagnetic whisper your conscious mind has learned to ignore, but your auditory cortex has not. Even noise-canceling headphones, those $300 miracles of technology, only reduce ambient sound by about 20 to 30 decibels. They're bringing you from a noisy cafe to a quiet library, not to actual silence. True silence, defined as sound levels below 20 decibels sustained for extended periods, is now so rare that researchers have to use anechoic chambers to study it. These are rooms lined with foam wedges that absorb 99% of all sound. People who enter them report hearing their own heartbeat, their blood flowing, their eyeballs moving in their sockets. Most find it deeply unsettling. They've never heard themselves before. In 2004, Orfield Laboratories in Minnesota built the quietest room on Earth. It registered negative 9.4 decibels. Sound was so absent that the air itself seemed heavy. Visitors reported hallucinations within 30 minutes. Disorientation, panic. The longest anyone has stayed inside with the lights off is 45 minutes. This raises an uncomfortable question. If silence is so good for us, why does actual silence feel so wrong? The answer reveals something profound about modern human consciousness. We have adapted to noise the way deep-sea fish have adapted to pressure. We don't notice it until it's gone. And when it's gone, we realize how much of our mental energy was being spent just coping with it. That disorientation in the anechoic chamber isn't your brain breaking. It's your brain suddenly having nothing to filter. For the first time, all that processing power is available for something else. And most of us have no idea what to do with it. We've never had that much mental bandwidth before. We fill every moment with podcasts, music, notifications. Not because we love them, because silence has become psychologically intolerable. The chronic noise of modern life triggers what researchers call allostatic load. It's the cumulative wear and tear of repeated stress responses. Every unexpected sound, every background hum, every notification ping activates your hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. Just a little, just enough to release a small amount of cortisol. Individually, these micro-stresses are meaningless, but they compound. A 2018 study published in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology found that people exposed to high levels of transportation noise had a significantly elevated risk of cardiovascular events, not because the noise damaged their hearts directly, but because the constant low-grade stress response slowly degraded their entire system. Your body cannot tell the difference between a lion's roar and a car horn. It only knows that a loud sound equals potential threat equals cortisol release equals inflammation, equals cellular damage. Multiply this by 10,000 sounds per day. Multiply that by 30 years. The cumulative effect is a brain that has never fully relaxed, a nervous system stuck in permanent low-level fight or flight, and a body aging faster than it should. This brings us to something the contemplatives knew centuries ago. Every major wisdom tradition has emphasized silence. Christian mystics called it sacred quiet. Buddhists called it noble silence. Hindu sages called it mana. They understood intuitively what neuroscience is only now confirming. Silence isn't the absence of something. It's the presence of everything else. When external noise stops, internal processing begins. The default mode network, that constellation of brain regions bandwidth it needs. This network handles self-reflection, memory consolidation, future planning, and creative insight, but it requires resources that constant noise steals. A 2013 study found that even low-level background noise significantly impairs performance on tasks. Requiring the default mode network. Subjects were worse at autobiographical memory retrieval, worse at imagining future scenarios, worse at understanding other people's perspectives. The noise wasn't loud enough to notice, but it was loud enough to matter. Those monks sitting in silence for hours weren't escaping reality. They were accessing parts of their minds that noise-polluted modern humans have never met. Let's talk about what happens when you give your brain even small doses of relative quiet. A study from the attention restoration theory framework found that just 3 days of wilderness immersion, away from urban noise, improved creative problem solving by 50%. 50%, not from training, not from practice, just from silence. Another study found that children who attended schools near airports had significantly impaired reading comprehension compared to students at quieter schools. When the airports installed better soundproofing, the gap closed within 2 years. The brain isn't just passively affected by noise. It actively adapts to it by downregulating certain functions to conserve energy. Memory consolidation gets deprioritized. Creative thinking gets shelved. Complex emotional processing gets simplified. Your brain is triaging, deciding what's essential for survival in a noisy world. And all those higher functions that make you distinctly human